How you guys doing?
Great.
Doing great.
Good to see you again.
So it's been like a year. How's the last year been?
It's been crazy. We had the world premiere at TIFF where we saw you the day we premiered the movie to the entire world. And we've been to 40 film festivals all around the world, almost on every continent except for Antarctica. And now we're coming up to the theatrical release of the movie.
Friday the 13th.
So it's been
People
pretty...
gotta check it out, Friday the 13th.
It's been very crazy.
First of all, I'll say it again so people can hear me, but I mean, I think you guys did such a fantastic job with this. And I think what most impressed me is you made the movie for $1.50 and a roll of duct tape. And so but talk a little bit about, you have a big movie here that you're trying to make with, very limited resources.
Absolutely. Well, Zach and I were sort of struggling filmmakers who were buddies and saying, oh my gosh, like we gotta make a movie, but none of these movies are getting made that have hired us. Sometimes we got fired for projects. So what's the movie that we can make, even if we have $1.50, that can still be in that kind of voice that we want to express? And one of the things we did was we created a story that had really interesting characters because we needed to attract actors. And that's one of the things you can do, even if you have no money, is try to make these characters twisted and interesting and in this muddy gray area of morality, so that actors who read it really want to play those roles.
Even if you only have $1.50.
Yeah. Normally, actors get paid a lot. And they said, we can't pay you a lot, but this is a character you were born to play.
Right. But one of the things I also think that you did such a good job with is you shoot it from Lexi's perspective, the main star, if you will, of the film. Talk a little bit about why you chose to do that.
Yeah, we were really inspired by Adam's son as he's growing up. Kids have a really unique perspective on the world because they don't know what's real and what isn't. To them, a car alarm is incredibly scary, but dragons are real and totally cool. And so we wanted to tell a movie from the perspective of a kid, and we took that to heart through the whole movie. The genre of the movie changes as her emotions change.
And it's all shot from her eye line, looking up at these kind of intimidating, scary adults who are looming over her.
A lot of looking up adults' noses, because the whole movie is basically shot from 2 feet off the ground.
But that also leads into the way the story's structured, because she's trying to figure out what's real and what isn't. And it's a sci-fi world, so the audience doesn't know what's real and what isn't until Chloe knows.
Completely. And that's another thing, is I've seen the movie twice now. The second time you see it, it's a completely different movie. And so talk a little bit about you're planting seeds through the whole movie at the bigger picture. Talk a little bit about that. So for people, it's like a rewatchable film.
Yeah, the really cool thing about the film is as you're watching it, you have no idea at the beginning what is going on, and there's all these confusing things happening, but they do all add up. And so it's kind of a mystery box as you're watching it the first time, and when you watch it the second time, it's really cool because all these things that were kind of confusing and weird at the beginning now completely make sense, and you have this really cool experience of kind of having a second perspective on the film when you watch it a second time. It's really fun.
I was going to say, just jump on something else. So you're getting ready to go film this. You have your limited schedule. You know what I mean? You're trying to do a lot. Yeah. What's the thing that really made you nervous before filming began in terms of just how are we going to get this?
I think, when you're working with a kid, you're extremely limited because by law, they can only work 8 hours a day. So that was a big challenge. She's in every scene and she's driving every scene forward. So we had to be very careful with kind of how we were using her and what we were doing without her.
And to make sure she has to be emotionally ready to do the whole film. Like, it's not just a movie where she's just sort of looking at all the adults acting. She is the lead of the movie, propelling everything forward. And making sure we had a 7-year-old girl who could hold up an entire movie, years and years and years of all of our efforts coming down to basically the shoulders of this 7-year-old girl. And luckily, through that process of making the movie, she's super stellar. When people come out of the film, she's usually the thing that everyone's talking about.
Oh no, she did a fantastic job. When did you realize that she was the one? And when let me stop there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the moment I realized Lexi was the one is in the very first audition she did. We had got her kind of connected to her emotions. She was screaming at this actor we had. Her nostrils were flaring. Her ears were tearing up. Her eyes were tearing up. And she was just totally in the moment. And we were all just kind of leaning back in our chairs. We said, okay, good, cut, good. And then she just immediately flipped and was like, that was so much fun. You guys are great. And we realized she had the maturity to both go to these deep, real places, but then also still be a little girl and still have fun and not get lost in some of that darkness. And that was really key, because we're going to be going to a lot of crazy, dark places over the course of making this movie. We needed someone who had the maturity to kind of do that, but also happened to be 7 years old.
Completely. I'm curious, so you go in the editing room, you have all your footage. What's the thing, when you start looking at all the footage, that you were like most excited about? And what was the thing that terrified you?
Wow. Well, I think it's sort of the same answer for both, which is we used a lot of improv in this movie to get at those real emotions, especially with Lexi, but also Bruce Dern is famous for improv. He just basically, uses the script as a jumping off point to go to Crazy Town, which we encouraged, because we wanted to kind of find the realness in those relationships.
It's helpful when you're the writer-directors, because you can kind of use the script when you want it, but also throw it out and follow.
So from an editing perspective, we knew we had lots of like rough gems in there somewhere, but we had to dig through to find them and chisel them to make them work together. The visual effects were also a crazy thing that we were sort of excited about but intimidated by, because we had $1.50, and so we had to kind of be very crafty with how we were doing the visual effects and recruit a lot of friends to do us favors. Basically, we were begging anyone we knew who had visual effects experience to help us out.
Yeah, it's interesting. When the movie starts, it seems like it's going to be this small little movie in a house, and by the end, it becomes quite a large movie. But we needed it to. We were a small movie in a house, so we needed to be able to pull off all those visual effects. There's almost 250 visual effects shots in the movie, and but we basically had to do it, beg, borrow, and steal it.
Congrats, because it works. I wish you guys nothing but the best, and congrats on the movie.
Thank you.
Seriously.
You were our first interview at Toronto, and now
we're here.
It's a year later.
Yeah. Thank you.